Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today discussing the New Orleans Saints, who normally, Sam, we'd be posing the question that we always pose. Are they now one of the best teams in the NFC? They moved to 5-2. However, it was a costly win against the rival Tampa Bay Bucs. Saints win, but they lose starting quarterback Jameis Winston out for the season. Torn ACL, unfortunate injury. So now it's Trevor Siemian's team, maybe until Taysom Hill gets back. It's probably Taysom's team with Trevor Siemian as the backup. But what does this do for the Saints and their future here?
All right, a few things we need to get out of the way first. One, Jameis Winston, even injured, is more Jameis than anybody else. There's a video surfacing of Jameis dancing in celebration in the locker room on crutches. So even with what sounds like a torn ACL and possibly extra goodies on top of that, Jameis Winston is still like the most fun quarterback in the NFL.
He's got another ACL to jump on, so he used it.
It's true, yeah, and a crutch, so he was fine. And then two, like Sean Payton's ability to win with like anybody at quarterback is starting to get ridiculous. The Buccaneers, who we just fresh off saying are still the best team in the NFC, they go out there. Okay, the Saints defense did a really good job of slowing down Brady in that offense, causing him problems. They got the pick towards the end of the game to ice it out. But like their ability to be functional with like anybody at quarterback, the last few seasons, they've had to cycle through guys like Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Teddy Bridgewater. They've always won. Like, as much as the Breeze-Sean Payton connection was an incredible one, it's probably time we start giving Sean Payton some serious credit for just throwing any quarterback out there, and it's still working.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a big part of why I think we were, or people at least, soured on the Saints coming in was like, okay, there's no way they could do this without Drew Brees, and we continue to discuss this, is it the quarterback, is it the head coach, and all these things, and it always seems to point to, Brady's had success without Belichick, and Russ, you see the Seahawks maybe fall apart a little bit, they bounce back nicely, but fall apart a little bit without Russ, and, maybe it's not Pete Carroll, but Sean Payton bucking that trend. Now, he'll be put to the test even further. Taysom should be back soon. That was the guy that they invested a lot of money, not $144 million, but a lot of money in to be that H-back/backup quarterback. But, Trevor Siemian, it wasn't always pretty for him, but they made just enough plays to beat the division leaders in the Bucs.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Jameis Winston was playing pretty well this season, not necessarily in this game, but I think ultimately he would have had a reasonable season if he was playing all year long. Now we've got like, okay, Taysom Hill is getting back soon to ride to the rescue. I mean, I know I was kind of pushing for the Taysom Hill thing to start earlier in the year or in the offseason. I don't know how pretty that's going to be if Taysom Hill is the starting quarterback. But if Taysom stays as the gimmick guy and Trevor Siemian is the starting quarterback for the rest of the year, I mean,
I don't think that's the case.
That good?
I don't think that's what's going to happen. Let's look at this from a high level really quick from Sean Payton point of view, right? So you've got Drew Brees, Hall of Famer, he can do it all. But the two guys that we've now seen Sean Payton coach, for multiple games as a starter, besides Taysom, you've got Teddy Bridgewater and you have Jameis Winston, like truly on two different ends of the spectrum as far as how they play stylistically. And Sean Payton's kind of like pulled them both toward the center, so to speak, right? Like Teddy Bridgewater was super conservative, and I guess he played into that ability of Teddy to take care of the ball. But he also reeled Jameis in. Again, it was only 7 games, but he reeled him in enough to pretty much take care of the ball, to rely on the run game, create a few big throws here and there down the field, but for the most part, keep Jameis from trying to turn the ball over. So yeah, I've been impressed with Sean Payton and the Saints' ability to do it with different style quarterbacks. The other part I think you just see is it's a good secondary. It's a pretty good defensive line. They were tough up front. It's just a good all-around roster. The offensive line is excellent. They've built a good roster. It's not great, but they've built a very good roster that has kept them in it. They're going to be challenged even further here, though, going forward.
I do wonder if that, reigning in Jameis thing was starting to get away from him a little bit anyway. Like the start of the season, he had by far the lowest average depth of target he's had in years. All of a sudden, though, the last couple of weeks, it's been 12.6, 10.2. It's been creeping up. Like Jameis has been, unleashing a little bit deeper down the field, whether or not Sean Payton wants him to. But it does become interesting now what the options are, because I don't think there are many good ones, but there's a lot of them. Like either you turn the keys over to Taysom Hill and you suddenly ask him to be the starting quarterback as opposed to that gimmick, jack of all trades kind of weapon, or you leave him in that role and you put Trevor Siemian in there as a starting quarterback, or the two more options they've got available to them. One, the trade deadline is coming up on Tuesday, right? Like,
yeah,
I said on our show, the live show this morning, that I think there's a greater chance that Tyrod Taylor gets moved before the deadline than Deshaun Watson gets moved from Houston. All of a sudden, there's a team that could potentially use a Tyrod Taylor as a starting quarterback. I mean, I don't think that would cost that much given the situation there. I'd be really interested to see if New Orleans picks up the phone and tries to make a move there, or we are already getting, comments, suggestions that this could be the start of the Ian Book era. Now, that would appear to me to be the worst possible option.
Where are those suggestions coming from?
It's been
South Bend,
tweeted.
Indiana?
No, it's been tweeted by New Orleans Saints beat writers. Who have I got here? Somebody called Maddie Hudak, who sorry to say I've never heard of, but I'm sure she's very good at her job. She's got a blue check mark and all kinds of things, so I'm sure she's way in there. Now, I must also point out that I'm not 100% sure that this is a legitimate story, or she just really wanted to use the joke of it might be the opening chapter of Ian Book. But,
Did you just wasted 30 seconds of the daily on a pun?
It might be a pun and it might be a pun and a story. I can't tell.
I'll comment on it in a minute, because NFL fans, if you're hungry for a big win this week, you know what I'm going to say. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, they got you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state, they won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests, and DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, by the way. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and you win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with the promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Just to reset the Saints season, we mentioned on the PFF NFL podcast, they beat the Packers in week 1 handily. No real impressive wins since that point, but this is it, right? They beat the Bucs. They beat the team that they've now beaten them 3 out of the 4 times that they've played Tom Brady leading the Bucs. Of course, the loss was in the playoffs, but they reestablished themselves right near the top of the division. The Bucs are 6-2, the Saints are 5-2, so now they're right there in that mix, and all of a sudden, it was like the Bucs with Brady and the Packers with Rodgers and the Cardinals with Kyler and the Rams with Stafford and the Dak and the Cowboys. It's all these QB-led teams, and then all of a sudden the Saints are right there in this mix too with whoever. Taysom probably.
Right, yeah, they would have been the odd team out in that group anyway. Even if Jameis had been the quarterback, it would have been, hey, look, the Saints are right up there with these other teams, but they're the one that doesn't fit because they don't have this sort of sure thing at quarterback, and there's a potential issue there with Jameis. Take Jameis out of it, and whatever we think of Jameis, he is a step ahead of all of these other options. I guess with the potential, with maybe not Tyrod Taylor, based off what we saw of a couple of games of Tyrod earlier in the season. Maybe he's capable of coming in and playing that well, but the Taysom Hill thing, like he beat out Taysom Hill for that job. The Ian Book thing, I mean, I just don't see an NFL quarterback in Ian Book given his limitations. And Trevor Siemian has been out of this league or out of relevance for so long that I'd forgotten how to spell his name when I went to tweet about him earlier today. It's look up how to spell Siemian. It's been that long since, he was relevant in any way, shape, or form.
It has been a while for Siemian. So I think it's going to be Taysom. Just for perspective, what he did last year, 69.1 passing grade, completed 73% of his passes. So the underneath stuff was there. But the thing Taysom has struggled with is the downfield passing attack. Timing has been poor. He only had 3 big-time throws last year on 121 passing attempts. He is just not connected down the field. And that has been kind of how the Saints have wanted to play here. Run, run, run. Chuck it down the field. Deontay Harris, Marquez Callaway making plays. So we'll see how this offense looks. I do think they lean on Taysom in the run game a little bit more. That offensive line, Alvin Kamara, it's going to look a lot different, I think, than what we've seen with Jameis under center.
And if you just look at Trevor Siemian's PFF grades, I mean, he averages somewhere in the mid to low 50s. And that's, 10 grading points lower than Jameis Winston's average, which is enough his average is lower than a lot of people think he should be. So we are talking like a massive downgrade over, where Jameis was, probably a significant downgrade over where Taysom Hill is. Again, he hasn't played as much, but he's up there in those 60s range as well. So if Trevor Siemian is the answer, that's pretty concerning.
Yeah, I'm going to lean with it's Taysom going forward. I'm intrigued by the Tyrod mention, though. It's a little tough, going in the middle of the season. Might have to sit out a couple weeks if that even happened. But Tyrod and Sean Payton could be fascinating. We'll see. Saints are right back in the mix, though, in the playoff hunt. Huge win, but a big loss in Jameis Winston.